Hey, and welcome back. If you've been following this series, you know we are exploring that strange and painful in between space where you've done some really good healing work. You're pretty self aware, you're awake, as I call it, but you still don't feel free. Today, we are talking about one of the most common and misunderstood parts of that experience, high functioning depression. Here's what this looks like. You're showing up for your life. You're responsible. You're capable. You're dependable. From the outside, you look like you have it all together, but inside, it's like you're watching your life instead of actually living it. You wake up tired, you keep going, you check the boxes, but that spark is just gone. If that's you, this episode is going to help you understand why you feel this way and what you can start doing to bring your system back online so you can actually feel alive again, so you can enjoy your life. And before we dive in, I want to say this. If you recognize yourself in what I described today, this is exactly the kind of work that we do inside my 8-week experience called the Courageous Living Reset. The link is in the description for it. I'll tell you more about it later, but I just want you to know what's happening to you is not permanent. This is absolutely fixable, and I'm so glad that you're here. All right, so high functioning depression isn't laziness or a lack of gratitude. It's the result of a nervous system that's been in overdrive for way too long. It's what happens when your body learns to live through performance instead of feeling safe and being present. When your sense of worth comes from doing instead of being. You don't need more motivation. You are already highly motivated. Even though you feel like shit most of the time, you almost never let any balls drop. You are Superwoman, even though I know you'd love nothing more than to not have to be. Most women who live like this are experts at surviving. High functioning survival mode and high functioning depression go hand in hand. So today we're talking about how survival mode becomes your baseline, even long after a crisis ends. And by a crisis, it could be anything like a divorce, a breakup, living with a narcissist, or a lifetime of living for others with no sense of self. It is getting lost in life and looking around and realizing you're a stranger in your own story. A crisis in this context doesn't have to be a one-time event. In fact, it usually isn't. It's usually death by 1,000 cuts. So let's begin to unpack this even further. Here's what's really going on underneath. When you live with unpredictability, emotional chaos, rejection, narcissistic energy, or just the chronic stress of always managing everything, your nervous system learns one rule. If I stay alert, I stay safe. So you become an expert at reading the room. You can sense tension before anyone says a word. You can hear a tone, a shift in a text message. You can feel someone's disappointment before they even express it. Your body becomes a radar system, constantly scanning. Is everything okay? Did I say something wrong? Does she seem off? Am I in trouble? You don't even realize you're doing it. It just feels like being responsible, considerate, or tuned in. But underneath that calm, capable exterior, your nervous system is on high alert 24/7, and hypervigilance takes energy, massive amounts of it. Research shows that chronic hypervigilance, being on alert even when there's no active threat, keeps your body in a high energy mode that wears you down physically, mentally, and emotionally. And as Carl Jung taught us, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So when you keep pushing, helping, feeling like you must be strong, your body is doing more than just doing. It's running a survival algorithm, it's hard to say, that it thinks it needs to stay alive. That's why you can sleep a full night and still wake up exhausted. Your body has been running a background program called survival. You learn to anticipate every need, fix every problem, smooth every edge, because unpredictability used to mean danger. Somewhere in your past, someone would withdraw love, explode in anger, or disappear altogether. So vigilance became your way of creating safety. In these situations, our unconscious mind decides that if we can just stay ahead of the storm, we can avoid the pain. But here's the catch. Even after the chaos is gone, even if you've left the relationship or changed jobs or moved cities, your body doesn't automatically shut off the alarm system. It doesn't recognize that danger is over. It keeps scanning, it keeps planning, it keeps managing. Your brain might know you're safe, but your body doesn't believe it yet. So you live split into the logical part of you saying, I'm fine, and the physiological part of you whispering, don't relax, something could go wrong. That's what high functioning depression is. It's not really sadness or hopelessness, it's disconnection. Your body's stuck halfway between survival and peace, too exhausted to keep running, but too afraid to fully rest. You're not broken. You're just living in a nervous system that hasn't been taught how to feel safe yet. Let's talk about something that's really tricky to see in yourself, especially if you're a high functioning woman who takes pride in being capable, dependable, and kind. Because the truth is, you are all of these things. You're generous, you're intuitive, you're creative. You notice what people need before they even ask. You bring calm where there's chaos and stability where there's confusion. Those are your gifts. They're not flaws, they're not masks, they're your essence. But somewhere along the way, those gifts stopped feeling like freedom and started feeling more like obligation. You didn't wake up one day and decide to become the strong one. You became her because your love felt unpredictable and being capable made you feel safe. Maybe as a child, you realized that keeping everyone happy kept peace. Or maybe you learned that being dependable earned you love. Maybe you saw that when things fell apart, you could fix them, and that made you feel important. So, of course, you kept doing it. And honestly, it worked. It kept you safe. It brought order. It made people rely on you. But over time, what began as love turned into duty. Now you hold everything together, not because you want to, but because you're afraid not to, afraid to disappoint someone, afraid of being misunderstood, afraid of looking lazy or selfish, afraid that if you stop managing everything, that people you love will fall apart, and somehow that it will be your fault. And this is where it gets confusing, because these are all things that you genuinely like about yourself. You like being thoughtful. You like creating peace. You like helping. So it doesn't feel like self-betrayal. It feels like being a good person. But what's actually happening underneath is this. You're still living from the part of you that's afraid to lose love. You're giving, helping, organizing, fixing, but not from your natural relaxed state of love. You're doing it from survival. Fear is still quietly driving and love is sitting in the passenger seat. Fear says, if I just stay useful, I won't be left. If I stay strong, they're going to respect me. If I just keep it all together, I'll be safe. So you keep going into the outside world. It looks incredible. You're admired. You're competent. You're everyone's anchor. But inside, you're running on fumes. Because fear-driven giving drains you even when it looks like love. And over time, your nervous system starts to associate safety with effort and rest with danger. That's why you can't relax. That's why peace feels foreign. And that's why you wake up tired even after sleeping. Listen, you're not broken. You're just exhausted from living in a body that's been working for love instead of resting in it. You might be wondering, okay, Janice, I get it, but how do I stop? That's the question every woman I've ever worked with asks when she gets to this point. Because it's not like you don't see the pattern. You do. Most likely you do. You're incredibly intuitive and smart. You just don't know how to get off the treadmill. And the truth is, you can't think your way off. You can't logic your nervous system into peace, because this isn't about behavior. It's about the wiring. It's about the belief. Here's what's amazing and kind of crazy. You don't have to change what you're doing. You just have to change where it's coming from. Let me explain. When I hit my breaking point, I was completely burned out. My body stopped producing cortisol. I started losing interest in things that I used to really care about, and that started to really scare me. I was so confused because I thought I was doing everything right. The truth is, I was doing everything right. If I had a gold star for everything right I had been doing in my life, I'd be a really rich woman. I was seeing clients, teaching, raising my boys, running my business, practicing gratitude, meditating, all the things I told other people to do. But every action I took was powered by fear. Fear of disappointing people, fear of losing momentum, fear of being irrelevant, fear that if I slowed down, everything I worked for would fall apart. I had fear that my marriage, my life, everything would fall apart if I stopped. The price was too high for me to stop. So even though my choices looked healthy, my energy source was the same one that had fueled me through trauma, hypervigilance, and survival. I remember one morning staring at my to-do list and feeling completely numb. Nothing on the list was bad. It was all filled with things I cared about, but there was no life in any of it, even though I desperately wanted there to be. It all just felt like obligation, and I wanted to run away. It took me a little bit of time, but I realized it's not the doing that's burning me out, it's the fear underneath it. Here's the deal. I don't really understand why more people aren't talking about this. This is foundational and why so many women are so frustrated because we are sold a bunch of BS about wellness when none of that will be effective if we are stuck in survival mode, living in fear. I realized I didn't need a new life. I needed a new perspective. I needed a new way of seeing myself. I had so much information on nervous systems. I started to retrain my nervous system to practice and play with it. At first, it was small things like pausing before saying yes or letting people help me without apologizing. If you've been around here a while, you know that I go through so many of these small starter steps in my other videos. Every time I noticed that tightening, that little jolt of fear, I would breathe and remind myself, I can do things from love. I don't have to do things from fear. What do I actually really want to do? My schedule really hasn't changed all that much. Of course, my kids are older now, and I finally have a little more me time back, which I'm super grateful for, but most of my responsibilities are still here. The difference is the energy behind them. I'm not hustling for peace anymore. I'm creating from peace. And that shift didn't happen overnight. It took a lot of practice. It took consistency, being intentional, doing nervous system level work. These small micro steps that I share are amazing. They're a great place to start, but they're only the surface. To truly rewire, you need tools that reach the body, not just the mind. And that's where practices like tapping and inner child repair, inner family systems parts work, and guided breath work, bilateral regulation and somatic tracking. These are all some big terms, but these are tools that really helped me and hundreds of other women I've worked with. We take fear out of the driver's seat. They're not about changing what you do. They're about changing the source that you're doing them from. That's what we do together inside the Courageous Living 60-day nervous system reset. We go slow. Each week builds on the last. You integrate one principle at a time from that fancy list that I just named off, and I guide you through the exact practices that teach your body how to feel safe enough to rest, to receive, and to create again. You'll have lifetime access to every module, every guided exercise, and every recording so you can return to it again and again until your body believes what your mind already knows. I'm safe now. I can live. I can drive from love. Fear doesn't even have to be in the car. It's not about overhauling your life. It's about helping your body trust safety again so you can keep showing up fully from peace instead of panic. We will retrain your nervous system to recognize when fear is driving, recenter yourself into calm authority, and respond from love that's grounded in confidence instead of survival. You don't have to white knuckle your way to peace. You can't do that even if you tried. You can train it. The same way you train your muscles or your voice. That's what I did. And that's what hundreds of other women in my community are doing. And that's what you can do too, because you don't need to become someone else. You don't have to give up any part of your beautiful life. You just need to stop allowing survival mode to run your life. And with the right tools, it is absolutely very much doable and possible. That's why I designed this reset. I curated it just for you. So if you're listening right now thinking, that's me, I don't want to keep living like this, but I don't know how to stop, this is your invitation. I want you to click the link in the description, check it out, learn more about the Courageous Living Nervous System Reset. It is an 8-week guided experience where I will help you shift from survival-driven doing to peace-based being without losing your edge, your empathy, or your drive. Because freedom isn't about doing less. It's about finally feeling safe enough to live. Listen, you've been strong long enough. Now it's time to be strong and free. If this resonated with you, please hit subscribe and leave me a comment letting me know what resonated. I love connecting with you. I want to hear your story. I know that you subscribing and liking this video will help it get to women who desperately need to hear that they are not alone and there is a solution. So check out the reset in the description. I also have a free guide called Finally at Peace. Download that. I would love for it to help you begin to connect some of the dots that you need to connect in order to understand even more about what's holding you back. All right, I hope that this episode was helpful and validating for you. I cannot wait to see you inside the reset, and I will see you in the next episode.